All right, we have hit 60, so we're going to go ahead and get started. And like I said, for those who have hopped in, we will be recording this. So no big deal if you have to hop off or one of your team members is not able to jump on the call today. So with that, call this a quote forms webinar training. More so, it's going to be an introduction to quote forms. For a lot of y'all, it's also going to be an introduction to some of the new team members that we have. So we'll make sure to point that out. For today, our agenda, you can kind of see on the screen of what we're going to hit. There will be some things that, in addition to this, that we talk through, make sure that we give you some ideas or some ways to use things. But the most important things and the subjects that we're going to be hitting are you're able to see on the screen. Your presenters today are going to be myself. Most of y'all know me. Our head of customer success, Sarah Husbands, will also be walking through some of the material today. And we're excited to hear from someone that's not me for once. Some of the other risk advisor team, some of our newer hires, Kyle Christopher and David Brower, as I mentioned, are going to be the ones who are handling the Q&A in the chat. We'll make sure that, especially during the Q&A, live Q&A at the end, to answer as many of those questions as we can. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and hand it off to Sarah for the first part of our presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Hey, everybody. My name is Sarah. So yeah, like you said, I lead customer success over here at Risk Advisor. Just a little bit about my background. So I have experience in both InsurTech and in the startup space, including places like Bull Penguin, as well as running the customer success team over at Agency Zoom at Vertafore. So yeah, super excited to be here. And let's jump into branding. So with branding, we know that good branding always going to enhance the look and feel of your site, giving customers and prospects ultimately a better experience. So first thing we'd like you to do here is add your logo. And this can all be accomplished in your Risk Advisor settings. We've noticed that horizontal logos work best, as well as making sure you're uploading a PNG file of your logo with no background. And then also that it's not predominantly white. Awesome. An interesting pop-up just happened. Oh, perfect. Here we go. Sorry. So yeah, like I said, making sure that it's not predominantly white. So then with your team, we recommend creating a specific quote form link for each member of your team, as this will really set you apart from other agencies. They'll just need to upload a profile picture and their account settings and then click save. And if you do have any questions here, David and I are both always manning the support inbox, so we're happy to answer any questions that you might have. Now we're going to jump into best practices. So we recommend you creating multiple quote form links, one for your website, one for each team member, and then one for your referral partners. And then great news here, your plan actually includes unlimited submissions and individual links, so you can create as many as you'd like. But without further ado, let's jump into quote forms for your website. So whether you're going to embed this on your get a quote page or redirect to the link via a button, it's always best practice to have a specific link for your website to track where it's coming from. And then just like the slide says, replacing your standard quote request form on your site is always going to help you streamline the data intake process for your agency. And then with your team members having their own personal quote form, they can send their link out via email signature, Facebook groups they're in, and then really wherever else they're connecting with prospects. So creating that specific link for each team member is going to be a huge one.
Yeah, just to add something there, forgot to put this on the slide, but one of the most important things about each team member having their own when they're passing this out to their own personal prospects is that they're going to be the ones that receive those notifications directly.
Absolutely. And then finally, we're going to recommend creating a quote form for referral partners because when you're receiving more business from a specific referral partner, you can then show them just how important they are by providing them with their very own link. And then also a benefit here is that you can actually track how many links are coming from that specific referral partner. And then also, of course, being able to thank them for being such a great partner.
One thing I will mention on this, I know something that has been requested by some of you, and I know that once we are able to release this, it's going to be something that a lot of y'all are going to use. But we do have intentions to offer the ability for branding, co-branding a specific quote form for a referral partner. That is something that we do have on our radar and intend to provide for you. One bonus tip that I forgot to send over to Sarah before the call. I have noticed that in accounts when we're hopping in for support and things like that, one big benefit of creating these quote form links is that they're reusable. So we talked about a little bit about the best practices when it comes to creating one for each one of your team members, referral sources, specific landing pages, just your website in general. But what you don't have to do is take the time to create one for each one of your prospects. They are reusable. You're able to track the individual submissions on a link level. So you don't have to create one for each one of your prospects, then send it over to them. So did want to mention that they are very flexible and reusable on that. So the big thing with quote forms is the three options that we provide you. It can either be the two for start your quote and have us call you. The optional one is import your insurance. But some of y'all have been around long enough that y'all remember during your demo or conversations that I said that we would never do client facing. That me personally and my agency and how I wrote insurance, I believe so much in the conversation, the phone call, and the power of that. Learned a couple things. One, don't tell your customers that if they're asking for something that you're never going to do it. But then two, that there are benefits of providing a way to have the conversation digitally. And so when we started thinking about quote forms, one of the big things that we wanted to provide was this flexibility. Hey, as an agency, I'm okay with them filling out a form, or I'm okay with them logging into their current carrier, or I'm okay with them requesting a phone call. I know in a lot of these industry groups, one of the things that comes up at least once a month is, hey, how do you make your prospect communicate with you? Well, if your agency and you are personally okay with them communicating with you in any of these ways, let the prospect decide. Make it easier for the prospect to start that communication with you. So that's where these three options come from. The first option is going to be the start your quote. The start your quote, by going down that, is going to give them the ability to cross sell themselves. And what I mean by that is what we didn't want to do is, just because we started out with home and auto, we didn't want to make those the only options. So if you've been inside of quote forms and set up your first quote form, you'll notice that we have a ton of lines of business. That part of that branding that Sarah talked about is going to be the fact that they're all going to be branded to your agency. And with this, they're able to say, hey, in addition to home and auto, I also want an umbrella quote. I also want boat insurance. I also want valuable insurance. And there's a lot of those lines of business and the icons in there. So, and one of the things is, like, I have valuables listed here, but if you prefer to say personal articles, you can select that and it's going to give you the same information. Talking about the home and auto, the start your quote route is going to take them down those pre-built forms. So you can see on the home here, there's going to be questions around, hey, how do you use the property? The example I have shown here is it's a seasonal property, and that they rent it to others. So let's gather some more information and make that easy. One of the things about quote forms is that we don't have the insurance jargon questions here. One of the big things when it comes to putting something in front of the client is making it easy for them to provide valuable information, and not have them abandon the form because you're getting too deep in the weeds, or you're asking questions that they just don't know the answer to. So on the home, we have property usage. We'll pre-fill property data to make it easy for them to either confirm that information or update it. We have update questions, discount questions, animals, swimming pool, and trampoline questions. And as you can see, that this is built both for desktop friendly and mobile friendly to make it easy for you to use this where you need to, or really where your prospect lives. The second option is going to be the import your insurance. The policy link feature allows your prospect to log into the current carrier and will send you their deck pages and policy data. And the big benefit with using policy link is one, it's built into your account, but two, it's going to start that draft risk profile. It's going to upload those deck pages straight to that draft risk profile for when you need to send that elsewhere. With policy link is or with the import your insurance option as well, we never want to be the company that says, hey, we're not going to integrate with somebody that does some of the same things that we do. So if you do use services like a Canopy Connect or InsureGrid, you do have the option on the import your insurance for it to redirect to one of those services. So that way, if you're very embedded with what you're currently doing, you're able to continue to use those tools. We want to make that easy for you. And but with this as well, by providing that on that same landing page, you're going to provide those three options, including going to a different provider, all with one link or one embed page. And then finally, on the have us call you option, that's going to be the similar to the start your quote option. Big thing with this is that the prospects will again be able to select all the lines of business that you provide and allow them to cross sell themselves up front and simply provide, hey, here's my contact information, here's my address. Can you give me a call? That's how I would like to communicate. And with this as well, this is going to drop into a draft risk profile. And one of the things that we do is in the notes section inside of the risk profile, it's going to have that the lines of business that they selected. So that way, if you hop back on the phone with them, especially on the have us call you option, you're going to be able to prompt them and talk through the things that those other lines of business. When it comes to automating this, one of the main things that we've talked with a lot of y'all about is passing this on to Agency Zoom or another CRM. There is a quote form trigger that is available via Zapier. We do have those templates inside of our help center, so that way you can follow step by step. We do have intentions, especially for Agency Zoom, to include that in our direct integration in the future. But we wanted to, from day one, to make it to where you can pass this data available along to other systems. One of the big benefits here is that every piece of data that's available in that quote form is available via Zapier. So you can, again, pass that on to Agency Zoom. You can create that lead. You can do the round robin that I know a lot of y'all want to do with that quote form submission. And then you can also, if you're using a system like HubSpot or something that's going to house more data, all of that data is going to be available for you to easily pass along to wherever you need that. The two templates that I've built out are Slack, which works the same as like a Teams, and then Agency Zoom. If there's any specific Zapier templates that you would like to see or have questions about, just let us know and we'll work on building out those templates for you to follow along. Coming soon to QuoteForms are a couple really, really cool things. Form abandonment notifications. This is something that was asked for from the very beginning, and we're working through that now. A big thing with form abandonment is that as long as they fill out that first page, which includes their contact information, if they don't submit the form within a certain amount of time, we're going to let you know as part of the first iteration of this feature, we're going to let you know that, hey, this person has not finished this form. Here's the contact information. Here's the lines of business that they requested. You should reach out. I know that's a big thing that y'all are interested in that y'all need. We're happy to be working on that. We are going to get that out as soon as we can. One of the things that I will mention about that is the first iteration is just notifying the agent. A couple things that we have planned for future parts of that feature is the ability for you to pass a link along to the prospect for them to pick up where they left off. Something that we're also thinking through down the road is potentially integrating with things like Office 365 and G Suite. So that way, those emails, you can set up an email template to come automatically from your email account. Because the big thing that we talked about all along is that we don't want any communication coming from Risk Advisor or a Risk Advisor email directly to your prospect. I know how important it is to build that trust with your prospect, and coming from a quote form email or coming from a Risk Advisor email when you're communicating with your prospect, especially if they're communicating with other agents as well, is not what we want to do. So that's something that we are taking very seriously when it comes to these notifications of automatically passing something along to your prospect, making sure that it comes from you. Next will be our form builder. So the form builder for QuoteForms is going to start as an internal tool. And that also talks about point three. So the first part of the form builder is going to help us either add questions, remove questions, change whether a question's required on your individual quote form links. I know that some of y'all want to ask more questions and we want to make that easy for you. So that's something that we're going to be able to help with this new feature. The another next step for that is once we have built this out internally and made it to up to satisfaction to put out in front of y'all, is this will be available inside of your risk advisor account. The last thing we want to do is make it to where you have to, every little change you have to communicate with us. We're more than happy and we're going to make that part of our support process, but we also know that, hey, anytime you can do it yourself, as long as it's a clean interface, is the way to go. So that's where we intend to go with that. And the last item on that is we're going to be looking at not only which lines of business that you're putting on your quote form, but more importantly, which ones are being requested by your prospects. And what we're going to be doing with that is we're going to be building out the quote form specific lines of business. So things like renters insurance, condo insurance, life insurance. You're going to have that data from those questions that we build out. You're going to have that as part of that submission. It won't drop into a new risk profile as in like a life insurance risk profile just yet. That is coming, but you're going to have all those submission data available inside of that risk profile to view. And again, it's going to be available all throughout Zapier. So that way you can pass that along to whatever platform that you need to. There's going to be plenty of other things that we're going to continue to release when it comes to QuoteForms, but those are the big ones that we wanted to mention and the ones that we're actively working on. To teach you a little bit about something else, and I've mentioned this to some of y'all, but Policy Link 2.0 will be coming soon. We are currently testing that. Some of the things that I'm really, really excited about Policy Link 2.0 is one of the things that your prospect's going to have the option of is they're going to be able to select between home, auto, or home and auto. And then once they select home and auto, there's going to be a second question that pops up saying, hey, is home and auto, are they with the same carrier? Or are they with separate carriers? And if they select separate carriers, the big thing with that is it's going to automatically prompt them to do the auto first, since that's going to have the most valuable information with the drivers, the vehicles, and things like that. And then it's automatically going to redirect them to have them do the home as a follow-up. So really excited about that. Another big thing with that is the provider that we are using to help us with that. We're moving to a new one. And the big benefit with that is we're going to go from just about 80 carriers to over 300 carriers. So a lot of these regional carriers, a lot of these carriers that y'all have been requesting that we build out, the big benefit is those are all going to be there. We're working on that carrier list now, and we will publish that here soon. But that is going to be a huge, huge step up for us, for you to continue to use Policy Link inside of your account, whether through a subscription add-on. If you're on our newer growth plans, you have 25 of those included. And we also still will have the pay-per-use available on that Policy Link feature. With that, we're going to open it up to Q&A. I've seen the notifications going off, so I'm going to open up the Q&A here. So if you haven't already asked your question, feel free to continue to post those in. All right, so Stephen Turnbull, can website quote forms come into a shared inbox? So with the quote forms right now, the notification is associated with a specific user. So if you need to send it to a shared inbox, what we're doing until we have the option to designate a different notification email is we'll add a user and we'll comp you for that user for that shared inbox, because that is a feature that we need to add. We're not going to charge you the additional cost of the monthly cost for that user. So if you want that notification email to go to a shared inbox, chat in with that email and we will add that user for you. Like I said, we will apply a coupon to comp that for you. Let's see here. Dale, is the deck page pool part of the questionnaire, or do they have to decide one or the other? We still need questionnaire info as well as the deck page, but we will always want to ask for the deck page, but not force it all in one workflow, not as separate options. So what you can do there is for the start your quote and the have us call you option, you can redirect to your policy link and the deck page pool. What I personally recommend in that situation is setting up a landing page that redirects it. So that way you can say something like, hey, thank you so much. We've received your information. To help us even further and to expedite your quote request, log into your current carrier and provide your deck and import your deck pages. So that way they don't feel like it's, hey, I didn't select import your insurance. I didn't want to do that. So that way it doesn't feel like you're still forcing them to do that. Just my personal recommendation. But on the quote form, what you're able to do is you're very easily able to set up a redirect to a landing page or straight to that policy link or one of the other providers. So that way, if once they land there, if they want to continue with it, they can. Stephen, we do have a list of all the carriers that are currently set up for Policy Link. That is in our help article. We'll post that. But what we'll also do is we'll supply the list of what's coming. I know for you and I have had conversations about a couple New York carriers. I'm pretty sure I checked all the ones that you asked me about. They will be on the new list. To QuoteForms sync download to AMS 360, we are on EasyLinks now, but thinking of switching. So when it comes to QuoteForms, right now, how that works is they're going to drop into a risk profile. And then when you are on that review and send page and you send it out to your integrations, it's going to go through that process. So with EasyLinks, you're going to send it to EasyLinks and that data comes over that way. One of the things that we have started to hear a little bit about is getting it over into those other systems quicker. So that's something that we're currently receiving feedback on. And once we have enough information on how different people want that data and when they want that data to be delivered, we'll start digging into that a little bit further. But to answer your question about AMS 360 specifically, when it comes to AMS 360, right now we do not have a direct integration with AMS 360. But what we do is we have a very deep integration with Agency Zoom, which has that integration. So if you're using Agency Zoom with AMS 360, we'll send all the notes, all the attachments to Agency Zoom, and then you can very easily sync Agency Zoom with AMS 360. So that way all that information gets over there. AMS 360 is on our list of future integrations to make that a deeper connection though. Can you explain Policy Link a little more in detail? Does everyone have access to this? Yeah, so Policy Link is very similar to like a Canopy Connect or InsureGrid. When we set out to build Policy Link, it was not to get into competition with those other providers. Those other providers are really, really good at what they do. What I did is I drew on my own experience of inside my agency where we were getting 20 to 25 quote requests a week, but we were only using one of those services 2 to 3 times a month. So a couple things that we wanted to provide with Policy Link is a built-in solution. One of the big key terms that has been going around over the last 18 months inside of these groups is system fatigue. We wanted to provide a solution that's built in with one login and the data lives in one place. And so that's where Policy Link came from. So Policy Link, just kind of as a brief explanation, they're going to have you can either embed it or link it, and they're able to log into their current carrier. So let's say there was State Farm. It's going to prompt them to log in. And when they do, it's going to send the deck pages and that policy data to you and also start a draft risk profile with that data. So that way you can pick up from there and enter in the rest of the information that needs to be entered. Everyone does have access to it. You should see a Policy Link tab on your account. If you're on, I know Jeff, you're on a grandfathered account. So with those, there are no policy links automatically included, but it's pay per use right now, or you can subscribe to get that pay per use price down. What vendor are you moving for? What vendor are you moving to for Policy Link for more carriers? So the vendor that we're going to be making a move to is Measure One. Measure One is very established. I think they've been around since the early 2000s. What they originally built and started out with were financial connections. If you've ever heard of Plaid or ever had to connect an account with Plaid, they are similar to that on the financial world, but they do it more so as a verifying information for like loans and things like that. But they are a leader in the financial space and they've been doing the insurance side for a while now. I will be transparent. They do have an agency subscription that you could look at. The benefit is that based on the pricing that we're able to pass along to you, it's very competitive. And unless you're, I think, doing over 300 a month or something like that, our pricing actually will work out better for that. But with doing it through Measure One, one of the benefits is, again, we get to include that inside of your account. We get to help with consolidated billing, more flexible billing, but we don't have to commit the development resources for a product that takes us away from QuoteForms and risk profiles and proposals. Anyone having success with Risk Advisor to Hawksoft file import? Michael, I saw your voicemail this morning. I was working on finishing up this deck for this presentation, so I will be giving you a call back. The big thing with the Hawksoft document is it is limited to one driver, one vehicle, but those on Hawksoft 6 we have seen have better success with it. But that being said, we are in active conversations with Hawksoft about going deeper with that integration and automating that. That's the most important part. Our goal and what we have communicated with them is, hey, you have this great feature called HawkLink. Your users love your system, but with any AMS, when it comes to quote data, there's no AMS has a good experience with pushing quote data and rating data into the platform. Let us do that for you. So we're having very good conversations with them. They're a little bit slower than I had hoped, but we are actively looking at how to automate the process of dropping that data into your Hawksoft account. And the biggest benefit with that is with the new format that they're helping us with, it will be all drivers in all vehicles and much, much more of the other rating and underwriting data that you're collecting inside a Risk Advisor. So I'm working to set up a follow-up call with them over the next week or two. So we're hopeful to have some more information about that integration and the next steps within the next month or so. Once the client has filled out the policy form, does this information actually bridge to EasyLinks? So great question there, or PolicyLink. So both with PolicyLink and QuoteForms, that data is going to bridge and drop straight into a draft risk profile. One of the things that we don't do on a broad basis is ask any insurance jargon questions on that. So our intention there is it drops in, you jump in, you fill in the additional insurance jargon and knowledge that you have before bridging it over to EasyLinks. One thing that we are actively looking into is a quick send feature. So that way you can get that data into your integrations quicker. So that is something that we are very much aware that, hey, there are different types of workflows for different types of agencies. So we're committed to being as flexible as we can to make that happen for you. Let's see here. Can we set up an email alert to the prospect to acknowledge receiving the form, or do we need to set it up with Zapier or Agency Zoom? So great question there. So right now, we do not send any notifications to your prospects. We are looking into integrating with like G365 or Office 365 and G Suite to where those emails will come from you. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. We never want any communication with your prospect coming from Risk Advisor, QuoteForms, PolicyLink. We all want that to come from you. To answer your question, what I would do in that situation, Michael, is say for Agency Zoom, through that quote form trigger, drop it into Agency Zoom, slap a tag on it that says it came from PolicyLink or QuoteForms, and inside of lifecycle automation, have that first email that goes to the prospect in that new stage that has one of those tags on it. Say, hey, we received your submission. We'll be in touch with any more questions or whatever you would like. That's the workaround right now. But again, we want to make that more streamlined, less you having to do things through external systems. So that is something that we are looking into. What if the prospect client profile already exists? What steps should we follow, especially when their name doesn't automatically populate? So when it comes to if you start a draft risk profile and send that prospect a policy link or quote form link to get additional details, or if they say, hey, I got to run to the doctor, can you send me whatever else you need? So right now, how that works is it's going to match up based on the email. So let's say they gave you a certain email, but to log into their carrier, they provide a different email. Unless they, in the email section for both QuoteForms and PolicyLink, unless they provide the same email, it will create a duplicate. But as long as they provide the same email, we're going to match that up and update the draft risk profile with the additional data, upload the attachments, any of that stuff. So that way, our goal is to not create any duplicates. So as long as that email address lines up, then you're good to go with those updates. We do have some things planned around providing a partial link from a risk profile and the quote form. So that way, if questions have already been answered, that makes that easier. So one of the things that your question kind of gave me the idea around is connecting that link, no matter even if the email address is different. So we'll kind of add that to that scope of that project when we get there. But great question. Is the deck that you pull over supposed to pre-fill the risk advisor correct? I tried this with Progressive and it pre-filled very little on the risk profile. Will this improve? So yes, that will improve. I will say that right now it was an intentional decision on not taking coverage and putting it into the coverage fields. As part of PolicyLink 2.0, we're going to release it first and then very quickly add this. What we're going to do is whatever the current coverage, we're going to add a little icon or a little field next to the dwelling coverage saying, hey, their current dwelling coverage is 400,000. So that way, if you're on the phone with them and you know that they need 500,000, hey, just wanted to go ahead and let you know. Looks like you might be a little uninsured. We're going to be touching on that, but just kind of wanted to let them know that or let you know that. So that way you can kind of start driving that wedge. Same thing, like say, especially Kim in your area down in Florida, percent deductibles. Let's say they have a 5% deductible, but you know that you're going to be able to get them a 2%. Go ahead and start talking about that. But we will absolutely be passing more and more data into the risk profile and making that very intentional with that. Let's see here. Did not pre-fill any driver car info. Let us know the specific one on that. I will say part of the decision to move to measure one is reliability. The reliability of the data that's coming from measure one is much more reliable, much more consistent. So some of the issues that y'all have been seeing with PolicyLink currently, that was very much part of the intentional decision to make that move to get you better data and get it to you more consistent. I believe you stated there will be an option to edit the quote form to add, omit information needed to start working on quotes. Will there also be an option to make certain fields mandatory before the client is able to submit the quote form to us? Yes. So the first step of that is going to be, hey, we're able to do that for you. So what we're going to do is put a request template. Hey, I want to add this question on this page. I want to this existing question. It's currently required. I want to make it unrequired. It is going to be an extra step of having to manually request that and us do it for you. But the goal is to make that time period where we're having to do that for you as short as possible. But it was important for us to be able to get that to you quicker to where you're able to get the form in the format that you need to. And as I talked about the fact that you don't have to, you can reuse quote forms as many times as you want to. That is also the thought process is, hey, let's take 5 minutes or 10 minutes on a Zoom call or going back and forth a couple times over email to get the quote form exactly in the format that you want it to be. And then now it's going to be that exact format for how many times you use it. So that way, even though it might take a couple minutes to get it right, now you're getting the information the exact information that you're looking for. So again, that's going to start out where we do that internally for you. We will do everything we can to make that as streamlined and as easy for you as possible. But once we get the internal process down, then we'll release that to give you the ability to do that yourself. Let's see here. You're welcome. I think we've hit these other ones. How do we avoid multiple profiles for the client? I think you're talking about that on the risk profile level. Right now, if you create a risk profile under the client view, it will automatically associate that to that same client. If you start a risk profile and then search for the client and pull in the existing client, it will also do that. David Brower and I talked about this the other day about how we're eventually one of the big goals for us is to consolidate the client profiles, making that easy, whether making that a pop-up or making that a as part of the search process, making that very, very streamlined. Tom, yes, if we have duplicate client profiles, we can link that for you. Just send in a support request. When you go to the client profiles, if you can just send us the URLs of each one and say, hey, this is the one I want to keep, and I want to move the risk profile to this from this one to that one. That'll streamline that request. We'll remind you when you chat in, but if you do chat in, we can make that happen for you. Y'all have been awesome. I'm blown away by the amount of questions. I really, really appreciate it. I'm blown away also by the fact of how many of y'all have jumped in, came to the webinar. It was cool to have to upgrade to Zoom webinars instead of doing this on a normal meeting. I'll leave it open for a few more moments. Any other Q&A, any other questions about this? If you have any thoughts on future webinars that you would like us to do, since we did purchase this, we're going to make it a goal to do at least one webinar a month to bring y'all more value. So if there's any, what we'll definitely do is once Policy Link 2.0 is out in the wild, we are going to do a webinar on that. But if there's any other webinars that you would like to see around anything else, please let us know. Thank you. Well, if we do not have, okay, is there a way for customers to upload their deck pages or other documents, especially if the carrier is not listed? Yes. So that can currently occur under the current version of PolicyLink. But another big benefit about PolicyLink 2.0 is this will occur for carriers that are mapped. And so let's just say they have the deck page and they don't want to log in. If they upload it to the PolicyLink 2.0, it's actually going to scrape the data from the deck pages like it does when they log into their current carrier. It's going to log in, or it's going to scrape that and start the risk profile with that data. So that also does work if the carrier is not listed, they'll still have that option. But if the carrier is not listed, it's not going to be mapped, so it wouldn't scrape the data, but you would still receive it. The big benefit with that is I'm all about trying to streamline processes, both internally for my team, but more importantly for my prospects and customers. So the big benefit there is whether you can just say, hey, whether you log into your current carrier or just upload your deck pages, just click this link. So that way you don't have to say, hey, if you go down the route of if you need to log in, go this way. If you need to upload, go this way. Either one will be available there. I will say one of the things that we will be adding is an upload option at the end of QuoteForms. So that way, that'll be just a document attachment. That won't go through PolicyLink, but that way they can still, if you want to, you'll have the option for them to upload their deck pages that way. Thank you, Gerald. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Michelle. I'll see someone in March. That's awesome. Linda, thank you. As always, make sure you're in our Facebook group so that way you can see what other people are asking. And that's where we always tease things before they're officially official. But make sure you're in the Facebook group. Make sure with our help center, we've upgraded to a new help center that has an AI search feature. So you can ask it questions and it'll answer it for you. But anything y'all ever need, just let us know. That upload feature at the end, it's huge to collect a picture of driver's license, registrations, and even pictures of homes. I love that idea, Michael. What that kind of gave me an idea of giving you the option to add multiple upload options. That way you can request specific things for each one of those. But yeah, I love that. Well, thank you all so much for participating. Thank you so much for how many questions y'all brought.